There we go. Beautiful. Yay, perfect. So welcome everybody to today's wake up call. My name is Iliana. Salud, feliz miércoles. I'm from Mexico, so nice to meet you all those who don't know me yet. I've been a part of the wake for almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in May. I host the Spanish webinars that take place every other Saturday. So this Saturday, there's no Spanish webinar. The next there is, so know that you have this resource for you guys. For whenever you meet a friend that speaks Spanish or have family members that speak Spanish, you have that resource as well. So let's dive right into the topic. Today, we are going to remember why rock bottoms are actually a blessing in disguise. And I wanna ask you guys, who here knows the feeling of hitting rock bottom? Type in 444 in the chat if you know that feeling. 444s. Yes, we're aware of that feeling of hitting rock bottom. Same here. I want to ask you guys, how would you describe this feeling? Those of you who wrote 444, what's a word that comes to mind? How did it feel to be in that rock bottom? Dark, death, shitty, defeated, devastation, unmotivating, heavy, alone, lost. Yeah, very dark and dense loss. Painful. Yes. Unknown. Alone, long. The void. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Nowhere to go. Yeah. Yes to all of these. That desperation, that feeling lost. I feel that these moments, given the density, right, of all these feelings of loneliness, desperation, I feel that these could be moments that we might be close to giving up as well. So I wanna remind you guys, or we are gonna remember together here, navigating why rock bottoms are actually gifts. They're a blessing in disguise. So if you're close to that rock bottom or feeling lost, just that density right now, stay on, because this moment that might feel like everything like shitty, like death, like Nofar said, is actually a gift that wants to be presented. Flor, wow, divine synchronicity. Okay, so the process of transformation, okay? Doing something new, doing something that we have never done this before. And I feel that in the wake, we are aware of this as well. Someone wrote the word unknown too. So I wanna ask you guys, type 777 if you never had your own network marketing business, or even if you did before the wake, it still feels like the unknown to connect to such a hydrated community, do business in a different way, you know? Yes. So since we're doing something new, and I really resonate with that as well, we will go through a recalibration of ourselves. We will go through this process of basically the journey, whichever that is, right? The journey of life, to me, is both a becoming and an unbecoming at the same time. And I know more of like the feminine way is the unbecoming, right? Is discovering what already is, and the masculine might be more of the becoming, the creation, the having that initiative. To me, it's both at the same time. So in this journey of becoming and unbecoming and unraveling more of our inspiration, remember, I want to start off by saying this. Remember that in this process of transformation, we are not seeking to become anything that we aren't already. Okay? Yes, caterpillar into butterfly. And I actually love that image as well. And that just the teaching of the butterfly and the caterpillar, right? The caterpillar is such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful place to be in. The caterpillar as well. I feel like oruguitos, it's oruguita. I feel like the caterpillar kind of gets discrimination, you know, when the caterpillar is beautiful as well. Like she's going through the transformation, and this caterpillar isn't like reaching out to something outside of what she's already built of in the process of transformation. So she's becoming what she already is. Okay, I want to remind you, it's all within. Yeah, I want to remind you guys of this. So in this process, it'll be normal to mess up. It'll be normal to hit walls or rock bottom a bunch of times, not only once. And my definition or my description of rock bottom, to me, these were the words that came to mind. A moment of confusion, exhaustion, desperation, feeling lost. And I feel like besides these words, a huge characteristic of hitting rock bottom is suffering. Type in 222 in the chat if you feel that, the word suffering. In this moment of rock bottom, yeah, we're suffering. So suffering is one of the main characteristics of those moments where you feel like you've hit your lowest point. So starting the decoding now, starting the analyzing a rock bottom, a moment of rock bottom. What is suffering? To me, suffering is pain plus attachment, okay? Is pain this sensation of pain in the body? And I say sensation because I don't know if it would be an emotion, feeling. I'm still like learning how to decode like each feeling. But it's this sensation of pain that if there were no attachment there, it would just be that, a sensation. It could just appear, the pain, move through, be felt in that present moment, yet it is the attachment that turns it into suffering, okay? So this suffering is actually just pointing at the attachment that our mind has with something, okay? An attachment. What has the mind been attaching to? What's the story that the mind created related to the pain? And I love this quote, la mente miente, which literally translates to the mind lies. Mente and mentira share the same etymology. Mente is mind, lie, literally that which is not true, share the same etymology, the mind. So when I saw that quote, I was like, oh my goodness, okay, so lies will always be a construction of the mind, okay? So having said that, this is the first part, okay? So suffering, our suffering is pointing us to an attachment. And I want to give you guys an example of this to make it like really tangible and to have a clear comparison. I had my spiritual awakening in 2018, and it was actually a codependency that triggered my awakening. I was going through a period of confusion, disconnection from myself because I had distorted or molded myself so much to continue fitting in with that friendship. It was my best friend back then. That was a codependency that woke me up. So I was distorting myself so much, changing myself so much in order to continue fitting in, that it was it was a suffering point to me, okay? So that suffering was actually pointing, like that confusion, that suffering that I was going through was actually just pointing towards the attachment that I had to that friendship, instead of accepting the fact that we no longer resonated. So it wasn't actually the friendship that kept us together, it was the attachment, okay? So this attachment revealed like a deeper attachment, right? Like the attachment to the friendship was only like the surface layer, but it revealed a deeper attachment to a story or programming from my mind that if I don't fit in, I am not loved. That was the story that my mind was holding on to. And if I don't fit in with my best friend, then where will I fit in, right? So to me, it was like, no, this is not an option. I have to fit in with my best friend. So that was the attachment that my suffering was pointing towards, that helped me become aware. Yeah. So what was the pain, like the actual just sensation that wanted to be felt? The pain that just wanted to be felt actually came from the fact that I no longer fit in with her. We no longer had resonance in our friendship. So this is a fact, this is truth. And then the mind created the lie that if I didn't fit in with her, I wouldn't be loved. So that's the story, okay? I wanna make this distinction between the story the mind created, because the mind lies, and the truth that the pain was communicated only. Like it was a cold hard fact that we no longer resonated. So if I didn't have that attachment, I would have just felt like, okay, I no longer fit in with her, time to move on, right? It's painful in that moment, but time to move on. So I was feeling into this, like the pain as I was creating this presentation, and it was really cool because I feel like the more I seek to share like the codes that I've awakened to, the more like the deeper I awaken myself, because I was like, wait, the pain, okay, but it's more complex than that. And this is where it gets really interesting. What I became aware of, like literally while doing this presentation, is that pain, like that initial pain, the pain from no longer fitting in with her, reveals two sources of pain. So that's why those moments of rock bottom can be so confusing, because I lost you guys for a second. That's why those moments of rock bottom can be so confusing, because we're like, wait, like, why am I feeling this way? Why am just so much confusion, right? So these two kinds of pains, they relate to the two ways that there are of engaging with the world. And these are, we can engage with this world through addiction or through connection. And addiction is basically, we know this, it's being an electron stealer. So we are taking, right? That's addiction. And connection is being the electron donor. Yet to engage through connection, we first have to connect to ourselves, because we cannot give from an empty cup, right? So, yeah. So if I decoded this, like the pain that came from no longer fitting in, the pain from addiction is basically the mind's attachment to the story. The mind is like, no, I don't want to let go. And that's the pain. And the pain from addiction is that if I don't fit in, I am not loved. And that's painful, related to our ego, our mind that's still like engaging through addiction, right? Yet the pain from longing from connection is just the pain of not being authentic and real. Not being authentic and real is painful. It doesn't feel nice to not be myself. It feels like, what? Like, what the fuck am I doing? So that's truth right there as well. So the thing to know about these two kinds of pains is that when the second pain is bigger than the first pain, that's when we detach. When the pain from not being real, and that was what happened to me, was too painful not to be myself. It was too painful not like feeling like that I was distorting myself when I became aware of this. The pain was bigger than the pain from feeling like I didn't fit in. I was like, fuck fitting in. I don't care about fitting in. Like, I want to be me. So that's when we detach from the pain from addiction. Okay, when this pain from longing for connection, which in reality they're both the same. Like, addiction is just longing for connection. It's just in an unconscious way. So yeah, I also want to remind you guys, don't go looking for a story in every single painful emotion you get because that's the healing loop. Okay, right now we're just exploring, navigating those moments of rock bottom. Yes, Jenny, I don't know if... Okay. Yeah, like, don't go and look for a story in every single painful emotion that you get, because that's the healing loop. Only when it's become suffering, this is a formula that can be helpful. Okay, perfect. So essentially what we're doing during moments of rock bottom is peeling off each layer of programming, each story our mind attached to, detecting what's just a story and what is our truth. Okay, so we are returning to innocence in essence. And the reason why I love this word so much, essence, I use it all the time, I resonate with that word a lot, is because it transmits that which is the most pure form of us. You know, just like essential oils, like, it even has a science to it. Essential oils, the essence of that substance. So to me, it's the most true form of us, before the programming, before the noise, before the distortion. So we're becoming aware of that, like, truest form, our truth. So essence and truth would be like interchangeable. Beautiful. So this brings us back to our inspiration. Type 222 in the chat if you feel inspired by your business, if you feel inspired by the impact that you're bringing the world through this water. Yeah, so inspired, so fired up, me too. This is a reminder that inspiration, your inspiration comes from your essence. Okay, and I love this quote that Nas shared a while back, or I saw it first from Nas: inspired in spirit. Okay, so when we are inspired, when we are feeling this inspiration, we're just identifying, we're coming back to our essence. Okay, so trust that that inspiration is there for a reason. So now what we're doing is that we're identifying all that has been in the way, all the stories, all the blockages, all the limiting beliefs. So when you realize your dreams come from your essence, from who you truly are, your truest form, quitting stops being an option, because quitting your dreams would mean quitting yourself. And that's no longer an option. That's like, no, I'm here to be me. I'm here to be real. I'm here to be authentic. Perfect. All right, so all of this, I have to give a shout out to Jilly because all of this ties in really beautifully with the Merchant Mermaid codes, inspiration, and how our North Star, right, connects to our why, who am I, and that's our inspiration. So shout out because if you've never been to a Merchant Mermaid, I highly suggest being to the next one because Jilly said that it would be maybe the last one, and it's potent, like potent codes. Yeah, it was actually that awakened me to all of this as well. So I actually searched the definition of rock bottom, and this was the definition that appeared. At the lowest possible level. And okay, let me mute you guys. At the lowest possible level, and in Spanish, fondo, parte más profunda, which means depth, the deepest part. And this, when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so divine. It reminded me of the drawing that we make in the Merchant Mermaid intensives, how we draw the surface waters, then the currents, then the deepest waters, right? So the deepest waters are source, essence, origin. So when we are hitting rock bottom, the lowest possible level, the deepest part, according to this definition, we're coming closer to essence. We're coming closer to source. This is why it's such a big blessing. This is why it's like, oh my gosh, rock bottoms are a gift. Now, when the ego cries, the essence smiles because it welcomes us back. Our essence is just like, hey, you just forgot who you truly are, and that's okay. Welcome back. Welcome back home. Welcome back to yourself. Welcome back to your true form, right? So when we are crying and suffering in our rock bottoms, our essence is actually, yay, like you're coming back to me. You're so close to remembering me. You're so close to coming back home. And I also love this quote from Rumi. I believe you can't see it all, but it's, you have to keep breaking your heart until it opens. And I love this because it brings awareness to me. It's brought awareness to me several times that, okay, if my heart is breaking right now, that's just a sign that I have to further open my heart. Yeah. Beautiful. So the good news is that the more awareness we have, the less painful the rock bottoms can be. And I say now like rock bottoms, quote unquote, because at this point, I wouldn't call it a rock bottom per se. It's similar to the dark night of the soul, right? We have our first dark night of the soul and it's heavy and we're like, what's this? I want to die. And then the next dark nights of the soul are like, okay, like I'm kind of getting the hang of it. I'm kind of getting used to to the dark nights of the soul. So yeah, it gets easier to become aware of those layers of programming, the lies from the mind lies, right? So we remain in a level of consciousness until we stop enjoying it. And the example that I added here is, imagine a bully that became a bully because of pain in the past, right? Unconsciously. And that bully remains a bully because he enjoys the rush of feeling superior until he realizes the pain that makes him look for that rush. Okay? So coming back to the addiction versus connection, we talked about how there's two sources of pain. These are also two sources of pleasure because pain and pleasure go hand in hand. They're opposites, right? So there's a difference between pleasure caused by addiction, yeah, same spectrum, and pleasure caused by connection, okay? So that bully is just seeking that rush, seeking the pleasure of addiction because he's unaware he's actually longing for connection. That bully has been enjoying that level of consciousness, and that's truth. Like the ego enjoys it. So that bully is enjoying that until it causes either the pleasure of connection. I feel like before we uncover the pleasure of connection, maybe we have to go through the pain part, right? Anyway, until he becomes aware that what he's actually seeking for is for connection, okay? Yet that level of consciousness, he's enjoying it to that point. So the same happens with us. And the more awareness we have, the easier it is to realize when we've stopped enjoying a certain level of consciousness. Okay? I'm going to say that again. The more awareness we have, the easier it is to realize when we've stopped enjoying a certain level of consciousness. Because we don't have to go to the pain side of the spectrum, as Shadia said. We don't have to wait till it becomes pain. We can just be aware, I no longer enjoy this. So I want to ask you guys to write in the chat which have been the things that have kept you in the pleasure of addiction that have got in the way between you and your business, that have got in the way between you and your consistency. And these, like the pleasure of addiction is basically a fancy phrase for distractions because that's it. And I also love this quote from Nas, distractions, right? Distractions pull us out of track, distract. So what has been taking us out of track because of the pleasure of addiction? And I can start, to me, I feel like that it has been snacking, unconsciously snacking, napping, scrolling. So that has been like the kind of pleasure because yeah, I snack, when I snack, I'm like, okay, like this is tasty. But it's that pleasure of addiction is not connecting me to the actual pleasure of connection that I'm seeking. Yeah, excessive Netflixing, scrolling, snacking, cannabis, food, scrolling and needing to build my business versus actually doing it. Yeah, that's a tricky one, Duigo. Holding too much space for other people's projections instead of focusing on building. Let me see the rest. Addiction to comfortability, like watching shows and scrolling, not planning my meals. Addiction feels like a need, and pleasure from connection feels more like gratitude. Like, wow, so cool, I get to, yeah, I love that. That's so beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So I want to share with you guys another example of a smaller rock bottom I went through last year, or that moment of having higher awareness that I was no longer enjoying a certain level of consciousness. So what I was going through is that I was confused because I didn't know why I was self-sabotaging in my business so much. I actually thought that I was too much in my feminine because I couldn't stick to the DMO that I set for myself. When actually I was too much in my masculine, in a distorted kind of masculine that was seeking to just like go, 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 when that self-sabotage was just the result of bypassing my feminine, of ignoring my emotional body that just wanted my presence with those feelings of pain for having taken actions on survival mode for so long. Prior pain, because I was still carrying the pain from my corporate job, like my corporate world and all the programming of all those years. So my feminine just wanted that presence to feel, and I was bypassing her. I was too much in my masculine, like why? And then I self-sabotaged, of course, because it wasn't sustainable action. It didn't come from a place of truth, of truly making that decision, from radical honesty with myself. Yeah, from wholeness. Yeah. So yeah, my feminine just wanted for me to hold space for that trauma to be felt. So in this example of that experience that I had last year, I was falling into the pleasure of addiction, of the attachment or the rush of being professional or seeking to be good enough. Okay, that was like, I have to be good enough. I have to be good enough. And thinking that I'm not good enough because I self-sabotage, therefore I was judging myself. And judgment is always a sign of attachment, because judgment reveals us that we are attaching to reality being a certain way. Like it has to be this way, and it doesn't. Okay. And when I became aware of this, I switched to pleasure of connection, which was actually coming back to myself. Yeah, shame is never useful. Okay, so now, toxic positivity. Something that can be very present during those moments of feeling close to rock bottom, yet just postpones that moment, right, of truth and rawness with ourselves, of our rock bottom, is toxic positivity. And I find it really cool that Nike actually talked about this yesterday. This, I actually screenshotted from her presentation. So shout out to her. I was like, whoa, like we're on the same vibe right now. And I really loved the definition that she added to her wake up call yesterday. Because when I saw this, and I was reflecting, thinking about toxic positivity, the first thing that came to mind, toxic positivity, of course, like acidic drinks, like Essentia, like all those waters that are like on the positive charge, right, of the electrical charge. So okay, let's go into the definition. Toxic positivity involves dismissing negative emotions. Okay, so I feel like, and I'm gonna tie it in with the drinks, right, like the acidic drinks. I feel like those acidic drinks, like for example Essentia, placing the positive here, like positive under the illusion that only positive is good, right? Only positive is good. And I'm like, no, Essentia, what the fuck? Like you're dismissing the fact that my body needs antioxidants, that it needs that negative charge, negative emotions, right? Negative charge. So I'm picturing like the X and Y axis, right? The positive is a right or up, and the negative is down or left. So yeah, I was like, you're totally dismissing the fact that that negative is also necessary. So with that negative charge from the water, right, like Kangen water, we are returning to origin, Kangen return to origin. When we actually embrace those negative emotions, we are returning to origin, returning to essence. And to me, three components that build up toxic positivity, or three things that we go through when we're going through a phase of toxic positivity. We pretend, we are in denial, and okay, so the first one, we are pretending, and pretending is pork. Pretending is the realm of the mind, okay? La mente miente. The mind lies. So the lie of the mind, since again, we're entering the realm of the mind takes us to linear time, right? Because that's the realm of the mind. It lives either in the past or in the future. It struggles to be present, okay? So that's why it's in denial, because we lack presence and awareness. And number three, usually when we're stuck in that toxic positivity, it's because of fear. Fear of truth, because the mind is attaching to a story. The difference between truth and the story. So fear of truth, while I was doing the presentation, I was also like, man, like fear of truth, what the fuck? Like, why have we been so afraid of truth? Why has the mind been so afraid of truth, when the deepest truth will always set you free? Okay, if it doesn't bring you clarity and ease, that's not the deepest truth available for you now. There's a deeper truth that's like, hey, I'm here waiting for you. And after a rock bottom, there's always a deeper sense of ease because of this, because we've gone through the decoding, read the deprogramming, facing those layers of programming the mind. So there's actually no reason to fear truth or to fear our moments of rock bottom, because they are a beautiful gift. They're like, hey, like you're ready for a deeper sense of ease. Okay, so lifting all the masks. Yes, Larissa, I love that. These two in Spanish, I'm gonna translate. When we let go of all stories, the organic truth surfaces. And this one over here, freedom is false until it's aligned with truth. If we practice a sense of freedom from the ego, this is false, because the ego is not the truth, okay? Organic truth, original template, yeah. So this connects to this drop that I just love. It has been guiding my path for a while now. Actually, from original blueprint, yes. From this code came forth from the last mini rock bottom that I shared when I was confused because I thought I was too much in my feminine. And it actually came through in a very divine time during the last Merchant Mermaid in Tulum, while I was listening to Jilly's codes on, she was sharing how sometimes the masculine can tend to want to fix the feminine, to like go straight into action instead of just holding space for the feminine, of being present with whatever our emotional body wants to communicate to us. Okay. And it was very divine because during that time I was decoding. I had read the water code a while back. And who here has read the water code? I'm curious. Type 111 in the chat if you have. Hey, Larissa, I see you, sister. Yay, part of it. Okay, beautiful. Yes. Okay, yeah. It's potent, fam. Like, I highly suggest it for us as water beings. It's potent. So during that time that I was in Tulum, I was decoding the relationship between truth and freedom. And this is actually a page from the water code. And I was like, okay, so if freedom is a masculine, which is light or fire, right? And truth is a feminine because it is water. Freedom is fake until it aligns with truth. That masculine urge to go out and be free, right? To act, to create, is fake until it aligns with the feminine, which is truth. Okay, so it would be having a false sense of freedom when we're actually slaves to the programming of our ego. Okay, I want to read this. I find it interesting that the feminine truth is sharp here and the masculine freedom is curvy. I know, right? I know. Wow, it is interesting. Okay, so taking this into consideration, the ultimate gift we get from a rock bottom is truth plus freedom equals true freedom. Liberation, basically. So that's a huge gift from our rock bottoms. Now, tying it into the beginning of the presentation, we were speaking on the process of transformation, right? So what's the difference between transformation and change? Change is where, because change is where ultimately we arrive after embracing our moments of rock bottom, because we're so used to detachment now that that's what we cultivate. Like, okay, embracing change. So what's the difference between these two? Transformation implies or involves going from point A to point B. And what I was kind of decoding or feeling into it, it reminded me of transformation. Okay, like transportation, transformation. So to me, it started giving me like this visual, like, okay, if I'm in point A in my house and I want to get to point B, which is in the supermarket, there's this sense of linearity, right? Transformation, transportation. I want to get to point B. So we have to be very aware of detachment to that point B. We have to be very aware of attachment to that point B, to the idea that that point B is better than point A, which is my current reality. Okay. So change, on the other hand, wait, give me a second. Yeah. Change, on the other hand, is constant. Type 555 in the chat if you've heard this phrase before. The change is the only constant. Yeah. Okay, so change is constant, which means it's happening in the present moment. Okay, and it actually requires detachment. So after rock bottoms, since we are so used to detachment, we become more open to change. Because the thing with change is that it not only requires detachment to point B being better, it requires detachment to both. To point A, in the sense that detaching from the mental concept that we have of ourselves now, like I'm this person, I'm always gonna be this way because this is who I am now. Detach from that idea, this mental definition of ourselves in point A, and also detach from point B, that mental image of me in the future, and thinking that point B is better than point A. Okay, because that attachment to the idea of point B being better is only emphasizing the energy of addiction. Coming back to that, addiction versus connection. Not being good enough now, instead of connection, realizing we already are that essence from which the inspiration to be in point B comes from in the first place, okay? So the irony though, or the paradox, is that this detachment from change actually brings transformation in a simpler way, in a more organic way, and with ease. Especially now in the age of information, right? This is something that I've also been like, whoa, of course, age of information, information. Information is in constant formation, transformation, literally forming, transforming. So we are basically recalibrating ourselves to be open to that change of the age of information. Now, don't just trust the process, enjoy the process. And again, I want to shout out Jilly because she shared something in the 90-day shower chat that really helped bring this into fruition, this awareness, how expectation comes from the mind. The body is already having a blast, it's already having fun with the journey. So what I shared on the 90-day shower chat was that I didn't know how to stay consistent and disciplined while releasing expectations of results. And Gilly's answer was how frustration because of these expectations actually come from the mind, whereas the body is always enjoying the journey. Okay? So while I was reading that, and after like absorbing that, the image that came to me was of a plant growing into a tree. Because the plant isn't worrying if it'll turn into a tree someday. The plant is not expecting immediate results or proof that it's gonna become a tree. Why? Because it's in its nature, it's in its essence to do so. So remember, in this process of releasing layers of programming, coming back to your essence, to who you truly are, enjoy the journey because it's in your essence to go through that process, to become that point B without any need to rush to that point B, okay? This is your nature. Yay, perfect. This is it. Close to the end mark, yay. So Thank you. Gracias. And I wanna invite you guys to give yourself an agreement and an assignment, which also comes from the Merchant Mermaid, this concept, from something that resonated today. And I love, to me, the agreement is the truth, right? Because when we agree to something, it has to come from a place of radical honesty with ourselves. Because if we're not deciding, choosing from a place of radical honesty, it'll be a fake choice, a fake decision, and we won't follow through. So the agreement has to come from that place of truth, that radical honesty. And the assignment, which is actually going out there and doing something, that's the freedom part. So align your freedom to your truth, give yourself an agreement and an assignment. Perfect. I'm gonna stop recording now.